isn't...
I did TV movies and short films, but this is the first one, my first feature film for cinemas. Yes.
That's really astonishing, because your movie is really very mature and wonderful. It's I couldn't believe it was a really your first movie. It's so perfect, we could say.
Well, I'm almost 44, so I'm not that young.
Yeah, but anyway, there must be so much
Well, but thank
work,
you. Yes.
so much work behind this movie. I guess you had to project it for some time, and you had to really to look for a very, I don't know if big production, but it seems a big production too.
Well, it was not this film. It was made with less than €1 million, so it was around 900,000. For Portuguese cinema, is especially for a first feature, it's an okay budget. It's like what we normally do, but it was not
How much? I
a big
didn't
budget.
hear very well. How much?
900,000
Okay,
euros.
okay, okay.
Less than nine. Less than a million.
Yeah.
So 900,000. Yeah.
Yeah. How long did you take to develop the project?
Well, it took a long time. The first time, when I first started thinking about this film, doing like a serious research and interviewing people and knowing more about Antonio, it was around 2003. And I shoot it in 2018, so it was 15 years of work, of developing scripts, and let's say that my first like decent draft, like more or less what I shot, it was around 2008. So after I have that script, it took me 10 years to shoot it. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I will ask if there are people who need translation. C'è qualcuno che ha bisogno della traduzione, per caso? No, tutti a posto, perfetto. Meglio così. No, nobody needs translation. A lot of years to develop the project, and a lot of work, I imagine, of research. I noticed that there are you had to do two big efforts. You did a very big job in two sides. One is the reconstruction of the period, that age. Your movie is really full of details. That age is really very well shaped. And on the other side, you really had to enter the mind of the main character. You really had to understand what was inside him, inside his thoughts. So it's not just a biopic that reconstructs, that gives shape to just to what happened, but also to what he had in his heart and in his mind.
Yeah, well, to go a little bit to the beginning, I was 16 when Antonio died. So by that time, I was a teenager. I go to a lot of shows. I see a lot of, listen to a lot of Portuguese music. There was a big boom of Portuguese rock and roll in the beginning of the 80s that I was from that time. So I was very interested in this subject, and I had very my memories were very vivid of that time. So for me, this was something that touched me a lot. This situation. After that, it was Antonio has a very small career, only 2 years, and so I was having ideas about doing something about the beginning of the 80s in Lisbon. I'm from Lisbon, and then I started listening to his songs, and suddenly I realized that his songs were still very up to date. They were very. We can listen to them in the 2000, and they were fresh. So I started to do research on him, and I realized something that I didn't know, that he died when he started his career. He was 37 years old. I thought he was younger, because by that time most of the rock and roll musicians were young kids, like in the 20s. Like the guys that play with him, I mean, could almost be his sons. They were way younger than him. And so for me, was trying to understand what happened to him for taking so long to become like a rock star, because he was an instant rock star. Everybody knew that he was a barber. I mean, he cut hair for a living.
Yeah.
For me, this beginning was like this barber that had a dream of becoming a musician. I mean, even knowing, or a singer, even knowing that he didn't know how to play any instruments. He didn't know how to write music. Didn't know music at all. He was not very. He has a peculiar voice, but it was out of tune a lot of times. It was not like a natural musician. So it was me trying to find out his effort to become a musician, and try to put myself into his head, and what was the most important things in his life. And one thing that was always crossing, it was he has a very strong attachment to his hometown, or to his where he was born.
Yeah.
Even knowing that he left home very early. I mean, he was born in the 40s, so as an homosexual in a small village, I mean, he left because he knew that his life for him there was impossible, or very difficult to achieve whatever his dreams was. So yeah, for me, a big challenge was to find out how did he develop his career, but also what was his really like inside him, what was his big motives of his music, of his lyrics, etc.
So, and is there any, I mean, did you find materials of his first recordings that you could use for your movie?
Yeah. One thing that was very important for this film, and very important for the movie that I made, was once I started doing research, I talked to his family. He has a lot of brothers, and one brother told me that he left a box of tapes that at that time they were in his record company, with some songs that he didn't record, and some tapes where you can see how he developed his songs, or how he composed his music. And with those boxes of tapes, I more or less, when I hear it, I more or less thought that I could have a movie there, because the way he was doing the composition was exactly as I did in the film. You sit with a tape recorder. He was recording like more or less a song, with a lyric and music at the same time. And then he also had this thing of doing like more or less sort of an arrangement. For instance, sometimes like the riff of the guitar or of the piano, you do it with his voice. A famous song of him, it goes like na 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 na, and he did the na 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 with his voice. So like with those tapes, I realized how he was like by himself, composing music, and this process. So these tapes were really important, because there was not, I mean, he died in 84. At that time he was in a lot of TV shows. There was some images, but not a lot. And I mean, there was interviews of him in newspapers that I also I mean, I researched all that. But those tapes were very important to see. And another thing in these tapes that they have, Antonio only recorded 2 records, and with these records, even though that it was not like any trained musician, he recorded with some of the best pop or rock musicians of that time. But before that, in those tapes, there was this more raw arrangements of these songs, and those arrangements were more rock. And when he recorded, everything was more poppy. So I thought those arrangements, like more rock instead of pop, they could be very nice in the film, and that's what we did. I mean, the singer sang all the songs because we didn't have his voice, the voice of Antonio, like isolated, so we can use it. There was I mean, I had to have an actor that could sing the songs, and I mean, we did the arrangements exactly as they were in those tapes. I mean, we were very loyal to that line.
So it's very important. It has been very important for me to enter this creative process so deeply. It's I think one of the most beautiful sides of the movie. I will ask you if anyone has some questions now. C'è qualcuno che ha qualche domanda? Potete anche farle in italiano se volete, parlando lentamente lui vi capirà. Se avete qualche curiosità vi porto un altro microfono. C'è qualcuno che ha qualche curiosità? O qualche commento? Nessuno? Vado avanti io? Okay, so I will follow with the next question. I saw that you mixed reality and something more, I could say, not surreal, more spiritual, more interior, particularly in the scenes where he goes back to his village, particularly when he is in the nature. There is something different when he's there. Did you want to indicate that nature and his origins were really something important for him and for his creativity, I guess?
Exactly. He was always, he mentioned in his with people that he knows that he was, I mean, he was always sort of dreaming about the green of the area where he's from is in the north of Portugal. It's very greeny, very hilly, like small villages, very and he was always talking about the green of his village. And I want to have the film to have like a circular like the script goes more or less like circular, like starts in his hometown when he's a kid, and then he goes back to his hometown for his final show, where he takes his lover and he sees his mother. And I wanted to have that sort of like his life, sort of even that he died very young, sort of have like circular arch, I guess.
Yeah. I heard that you said that in Portugal people still listen to his music and his songs. I guess people were waiting for your movie, and it must have been a big success, isn't it?
It was a success, yes. People were waiting for it. I mean, people knew that I was. There was like a movie about Antonio being prepared for a while, and yeah, it was very emotional to when the movie came. I mean, this film is the 4th most watched Portuguese movie ever. So yeah, it was very special and very emotional to see the reaction of the people to the movie, and to, I mean, sort of more or less like see again Antonio. I mean, he died 30, almost 40 years ago, and people still still listen to his songs and still love him. He became like more than a cult figure, more like somebody that is like. I mean, young people like him, old people like him. He has it all, something like that. And then like the way I did the movie, I was hoping that the movie touches the people, and that happened exactly. I'm very happy for that. Yeah.
Okay, congratulations, first of all. And then
Thank
another
you.
question is, for sure, Portugal now is very different from what it was in that time. Did your movie change anything in the perception of this figure, this singer, and in his celebrity? And did it have any effect on the culture of rock and also on the LGBT culture in Portugal?
Well, I think so. Like the way, because Antonio was very well known. He was very famous, even during those years. So there was years that people talk less. Years that people talk more. But he was always famous. But the people didn't know how he was, what was his life besides like being a musician or being a pop star. And also people didn't really know about the character that it was real. It was his like the love of his life, that was with him in the beginning, and then at the end they went back together. People didn't know that. People didn't know really the way how difficult it was for him to record, make a record. So people got closer to him. And there's another thing that is very like an universal sort of a universal quality, which is somebody that had a dream to do something that it was not right. You mean it was not like somebody like John Lennon or something that 18 or 19 he was already knew that he was going to be a musician. I mean, this guy has to struggle to become to make his dream come true, and this is like an universal appeal. And people, I think in a way people thought they was Antonio was like a comet that came to our life and then he died, and people didn't know how hard it was for him to become a success and to convince the people from the record companies that his songs, the songs that he was writing, they were good enough, because the way he presented the songs, it was the way we see in the movie. It only has his voice, and he was singing his songs. Then they need to have musicians to pass this and do arrangements, and there was a lot of work that a lot of people didn't understand. There was a song there, so the movie brought that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. In Italy, your movie doesn't have a real distribution, but it is going around through this Portuguese series of movies with Luso, and I wonder if it has been distributed in other countries out of Portugal.
Well, Variações, this movie, I mean, it was we were a bit, well, we were lucky that we released the movie here in Portugal before the pandemic. But then when the international sales were starting to peak, I mean, the movie was going to be distributed in Brazil, England, France. I mean, then the pandemic started, but it was sold to a lot of countries. I mean, our international sales is Italian, and he's doing, a great job. Because. But more like in streaming platforms. I mean, it's in America, it's in all over Europe. in Spain, just started in filming. Yeah, it was sold, but in theaters, I mean, you probably know that that things are not easy
Yeah.
in theaters. I mean, that's a shame,
Yeah,
but
yeah, it's a shame because it really deserves to be seen on the big screen.
thank you,
And
thank you.
it's a very universal movie. It's not. It's definitely not a local movie. And the last question, but I'm asking again to our very shy spectator. But there is somebody that has a question. I'll give him the microphone.
Vou falar o português, se vou lembrar. E
Ok, obrigado.
então, agora ao final temos um filme sobre o António. Quando vai ser, quando vamos ver um filme sobre a Amália?
Bom, obrigado pela pergunta. Well, Amalia is in this film. As a matter of fact, I thought Italy could be a good place to show my film because I don't know how old is the people now watching the film here, but if there was people around my age, 50s or more, I mean, they know that Amalia was a huge success in the 70s in Italy. And Amalia was the biggest inspiration for Antonio and for a lot of other people. My first job in the movies were a documentary about Amalia. I knew her personally, and of course, I would love to do something about her. There was a movie that was done in the beginning of 2000s, and it was not a very good movie. I would love to make a movie that would be more. Will make more. I mean, people will know more about Amalia more than just like a timeline of her life because she was, I mean, a fascinating character. I mean, if you have time, I will just tell a little story that happens to me with Amalia. I mean, we were doing this documentary. Me, I was assistant director of a Portuguese director in New York, and Amalia came to. She was in New York and came to have a dinner with us. And she loved Italian food, and we went to an Italian restaurant. And after a little bit, and suddenly it was like people near the kitchen, like commotion. And then suddenly all the people from the kitchen came to our table to kiss her hand and say, you know, some things. I mean, La Più Grande. So Amalia, I mean, was the first time that I see something like this. It still gives me goosebumps because, I mean, I could see like what was like a really important character and like the voice that she has, that she was she influenced a lot of people. So this I mean she was very important in Italy. Italy was very important to her. She loved Italy. She could speak Italian, and of course I would love to make a movie on her. It's not easy, but
yeah,
maybe one day.
maybe you can find a producer here in Italy.
But
what is your idea for your next movie?
Well, my next movie, it's a movie. It was a producer who has a screenplay that it was already financed. So I shot it in the fall. I'm editing it now. It's a simple movie. It's a movie about a girl that had to do like community work in like a senior facility. I mean, she made a small crime, and instead of going to jail, she had to go do work for like old people, and you know, that experience more or less changed her life. I had a screenplay that I'm working, and now we're starting to see if we can get financed. It's a road movie of two nuns in Portugal in the 18th century. That movie could be a nice movie. And then I have there's another movie that I'm working. It's also about music, about music from Cape Verde. That let's see if we can figure it out. Finance for this. I have a few projects going on, and let's see.
So a lot of work.
Oh yeah,
So
I've been busy. Yeah.
congratulations again.
Thank you.
Ok, so ci sono altre domande per caso? Qualcuno nel frattempo? No? Ok. So, well, I will thank you really for your movie and also for your answers to our questions. You have been really very kind to be available tonight for this, to go deeper in your movie behind the scenes. And so thank you very much. And
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
and we hope to have you here, maybe with your movie about Amalia, but also some other movies.
Thank you. It will be my pleasure. Thank you very much. Grazie a tutti.
Grazie a te e ti aspettiamo al Cinema Beltrade.
Grazie. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Grazie a tutti, arrivederci e buonanotte.